Good afternoon. It's David Celine and Chris Scully from Drive. And today we have Jesse of 360 Payments with us. Welcome, Jesse.
Hello, appreciate you having me.
So we wanted to bring you on the show. I know you attended our expo. You talked to a lot of shop owners, but those that couldn't make it to the expo last year, a couple months ago and everything, we want to kind of give a big briefing about what 360 Payments does and the different things they can help shop owners with, because you guys have an awesome service and different things that you can help shop owners with. And I know there's about 3 or 4 different platforms that you service them with, and we'll get into those today. So why don't we just start off on who 360 Payments are and how you come about and how you got working with shop owners.
For sure. Yeah. So our bread and butter is credit card processing. You know, we are a credit card processor helping shops get paid through payments through credit cards. And that's kind of where we started, but there's thousands and thousands of credit card processors out there. Yeah. And we started in 2011, and we were one of those 1,000. You know, we would walk up and down Main Street and talk to anybody who would take credit cards and anybody who would talk to us. And then pretty quickly, we realized that you can't be an expert if you're a jack of all trades. So I think about 2015, 2016, we really niche focused into automotive. And that's all we do now. I would say 99% of our new business coming in is all anything that touches a car, automotive shops, collision shops. We're getting into dealership a little bit, but we're all in on automotive, and really aftermarket and repair is where we've kind of staked our claim. So we started as kind of a generalist, and now we've really focused on software integration, making it really easy for shops to have integrated payments that seamlessly works in with their shop management system. And then we started continuing to grow out, talking to shop owners, understanding, you know, what their needs were in the shop. And that's when we started developing products like consumer financing. So we have a consumer financing platform now that we're building out all the different financing institutions out there, that they'll be on the platform, and they'll be able to waterfall so that, you know, if somebody gets declined from a primary lender, it'll roll automatically to a tertiary or secondary lender. So they'll be able to get somebody approved from good credit to no credit. And then just recently last year, we released a shop financing option. So we call it 360 Capital. So that's a way for shops to get money, to quick money, no credit checks, no paperwork, to be able to put back into their business, to grow their business, add new locations, buy lifts and different equipment, payroll, you know, whatever they need to use it for their business. But a lot of shops are expanding now, and so that's been a big product. So we're just kind of all in on automotive, anything that touches payments. That's kind of what we do.
All right. So you mind if I play devil's advocate for a minute?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you started out saying there's thousands of processors out there, and that now you're focused on automotive. So let's say I'm a shop owner and I get one of these thousands of dudes about every day or twice a day coming into my shop wanting me to change my credit card processor. You're focused on automotive. So how does that actually make you different than the other 35 guys I talk to every month?
Yep, for sure. I would say almost every single time they talk to somebody, it's, I can beat your rate. I'm going to save you money. And that's it. Like, so obviously that's important. You want to have a good rate. You don't want to be paying too much for your fees, but it's all the same stuff. All right, you're going to swap out your credit card terminal. You're going to have a terminal on your desk over here. You go over to that terminal, you print out a receipt, you staple it to your invoice, you hand it to the customer, and that's the thing. And then you switch to the next company that comes in and you have the exact same process, but you're paying $50 a month less. And, you know, that is kind of the game. Yeah. And so we wanted to kind of get out of that like race to zero, and we can match or beat anybody's fees out there. So that's, you know, important. But we've looked at it as a standpoint of really streamlining the workflow in your shop. So the checkout process that I just described is how most shops do it.
Right.
with us, we're integrated to all the shop management systems out there, like, Shopware, TechMetric, a lot of these big ones, even the DVI processes like, Bolt-On and AutoServe One and AutoVitals, where you can have the payments as part of your shop management system. So you click a button in your shop management system. It's a customer facing terminal, kind of like checking out at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
The customer puts in their own credit card. They digitally sign right on the screen. All that information then populates back in the shop management system and prints on the invoice. So you just print out one piece of paper and you hand it to the customer and you're done. No receipts, streamlines the whole checkout process, makes you look very professional to your customer. We can put your logo on the terminal that's facing the customer, so it looks very professional coming into the shop. So that's really kind of the main thing that differentiates us than a lot of these other random processors out there.
All right. And then you mentioned that the consumer financing thing. So describe that whole waterfall process in terms that somebody who's not a finance guy understands.
For sure. So most shops should be using some kind of consumer financing, and I'm sure you guys coach them to have options. If the customer can't pay for it, you got to have some way to help them, get the money to pay for the job.
Absolutely.
So, using Synchrony, for example, Synchrony is one of the major companies out there in the consumer financing space. What a lot of shops are doing now is they'll have, say Synchrony and, Easy Pay or a secondary lender. And the process is, they go into Synchrony's website. If somebody wants to apply, they go through a whole application process, and then the customer gets declined. And they say, "Oh, sorry, we have another option for you, though. Hold on." And then they log into Easy Pay
and
they go
put
through
it
the
all in
entire
again.
process again.
Yeah.
And so now you have a 10 to 15 minute application that you're doing twice, and then you can get the customer approved, and then you go through the whole process. So what we did is we saw it as kind of like, one, if you could just combine that and just have one application where they fill it out. If for whatever reason they get declined, it takes all that customer information, pre-populates it into the other lender, and then they just have to put in their social security number again, and it now goes through that other application.
Oh, I think we might have lost Jesse there.
Yeah, I was going to say, did I lose my?
No, he just froze up. Let's give him a minute. Hopefully he'll come back here.
Okay. So Chris, just to kind of wrap up what Jesse was saying there, they work with many of the different financing processors on there. And when you put in an application, it transfers the information to all of them as a trickle down thing until they get approved, from what I was understanding.
Right. Now, that's huge to me. I mean, if I'm a customer, I definitely would not want to go through one or, one and fine, but, 2 or 3 different application processes to try to get financed. So the fact that you fill it out once and it can go to 2 or even 3 lenders is great. And one of the things that stood out about what Jesse was saying to me, oh, here he comes. Good. Was the integrations. That's tremendous in my book. Hey, Jesse, can you hear us again?
I can. Can you hear me?
All right, great. Yeah, we're good.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
That's totally all right. That's the fun about live streaming. You never know what's going to happen.
Right? Exactly.
All right. So you were explaining the waterfall process, and so the way David and I got this was that instead of having to go through an application process 2 or even 3 times, the customer goes through it once with the service advisor, and then your technology submits it to the finance company in, I guess, some sort of predetermined order or something like that, and therefore you have a chance to get approved without actually having to go through the labor of separate application processes. Is that pretty much the right understanding?
Correct. And so that's the streamlining of the waterfall process to apply to multiple lenders. We're actually taking it a step further too, and we're integrating it to all of our partners on the shop management and DVI side. Because what we've noticed from talking to customers is a lot of times the consumer financing is offered at the invoice stage.
Right. Which is a mistake.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of times where they kind of get into that awkward conversation like, oh, you having trouble paying for it? Well, we have a financing option. What we're now doing is we're looking at offering it at the time of decision. So integrating it into the estimate stage. So as soon as a customer sees that like sticker shock of like, hey, I came in for an oil change expecting to pay, 100, 150 bucks. And all of a sudden you give me an estimate for $1,500 because you found all this other stuff that's wrong. Now I'm at a point where either if it's through a DVI process, I'm just clicking approve or decline on a phone and may not actually talk to an advisor. Or if I do talk to an advisor, I may be embarrassed and not want to say like, I can't afford all this. All I'm going to say is, hey, listen, I'm real busy. I just want to do the oil change.
Right.
And so what we're doing is we're having it applied in the DVI process at the time of estimate, having buttons right there. So as soon as they see that $1,500, there's a big red button right underneath it that says consumer financing is available. And so it's presented to every single customer every single time. Obviously, the service advisor should still talk about it, but
Sure.
now you guarantee it's in front of every single one of your customers.
Yeah, and that's a really critical point because I know that you can get into a situation where you know that you're going to get an oil change. That's not a big deal, and then they come back after they do an inspection and it's $1,500, and that's like, yeah, sure. Let me figure out which one of these things that my car needs I'm actually going to be able to afford to do.
Right.
And that's a normal response from a consumer who wasn't expecting to pay a lot of money, and giving them that option at the front means that you're going to sell those services right at that stage rather than later on, or rather than having the customer decline the service.
For sure. And ideally, we can increase shops' average repair orders there.
Oh, yeah.
They can approve right away the things that will get a safe car back on the road.
Right. And that's great. And then
I had a question too,
yeah.
Chris, on that is with customers with this kind of automated system and everything, do you find that the customers tend to approve more work and on an average? Do you have any numbers that can show with that?
We actually just started getting a lot of data now from some of our SMS partners, where one of them, their average repair order across all the shops that are using their system was around the $600 range. And an average repair order that was done through consumer financing was in the $2,500 range.
Makes sense.
Right there, they're able to get those bigger jobs that maybe they wouldn't have gotten any job, or they would have only, like you said, only approved that oil change. So it's definitely showing that those tickets are much higher.
That's great. And you said you work with collision too, right?
We're just starting to get into the collision, working on some integrations there with some of the collision management systems.
Yeah, because I can imagine people would want something like that platform for financing their deductible, for example, that kind of thing, especially if they've got a high deductible.
There's more and more. Yep, for sure.
Yep. Okay, great.
Okay. Now, one of the other programs that you guys do is you also have shop financing, like if the shop needs to finance expansion, I take it equipment, any kind of financing needs they go. Can we talk about that for a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. So we call it 360 Capital. And basically, again, we have thousands of shops that we work with now, and we talk to a lot of shops at, the trade shows, like when we were at your event. And a lot of our existing customers will come up to us, and we kept hearing over and over again, like, hey, yeah, things are going good. We have a lot of great stuff going with you guys, but we're looking to expand. We're looking to grow the shop, or we added some more bays, and the main issue we heard a lot of our customers saying is, getting the financing for this is a pain. Trying to
Yeah.
go to the bank and get a small business loan. I have to go through all this paperwork. I'm getting my credit checked. It takes 30 to 60 days to even get approved for the loan. And so we started looking around, and we were able to get kind of a back end partner on this and create 360 Capital based on the credit card processing volume that we already see going through the business. So what this is basically based on the monthly volume that the shop is processing, we can advance about a 1 month to 1.5 months of processing next day with no paperwork, no credit check, just based on what we see going through their business. So if a shop is doing, say, $80,000 a month in credit card processing, they can have $80,000 to $90,000 in their bank account within 24 to 48 hours to use for whatever they want in their shop by one click of a button. And it just makes it very, very simple to understand. The other cool piece that we did with this is there's no interest rate on it. So you think about interest
Well, that's
rates.
different. That's really different. Wait a minute. I gotta stop you right there. So, because I've seen some of these merchant advance type loans, and they are steep.
Yeah.
And so you don't do that.
Nope. So there's a fee, but it's a one-time flat fee. So it's on average, it's about 8 to 10% of the total amount. So if you're taking, 80,000, it's about, 8 to 10% of that. But it's a one-time fee. So you're not getting this floating APR. It's not like a mortgage where you end up paying thousands and thousands of dollars over, and you have, you're paying every single month on it. So, if you take out, say, 75,000, you'll probably pay back about 80,000. And it doesn't matter if you pay that 80,000 off in 2 months or 2 years, it's still that same exact flat amount. So it's very easy for the shop owner to understand, I know what I'm taking out. It's right in front of me what the total amount is I'm going to pay back. And there's no early termination or early penalties for early payoff or anything like that. And then on top of that, we make it very simple to pay back. So because we're already doing the credit card processing, we take about 15 to 20% of their daily batch, and it automatically comes out the following day to pay back the advance. So it kind of runs in the background. It's not a bill they have to pay, just like the credit card processing fees come out at the end of the month. This advance fee just comes out on a daily basis, and it just kind of pays itself off in the background.
I see. So let's say you use the figure of 80,000 a month in volume.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're getting, say, 15% of their transaction volume as payment, we're looking at each month that you'd be getting 8 to 12,000, give or take, or around 12,000, 15%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or 16 if it goes up to 20. Right.
Now,
and it goes toward that financed, whatever they financed.
Now, the question I have is it a flat 15% always, or do you is that negotiated with a shop owner? Like, I'm going to take 10% out because we want to stretch it out longer, or is it just, it's always a flat 15?
It's always a flat 15. And it's just the amount per day. We can work with owners if they really want to tweak it, but we tried to streamline the process so they can just click one button and it's done. Mm-hmm. We have certain situations where, some of these larger shops are, doing 300,000 a month. And so it's a bigger advance and they want to do it in a little bit different ways. But most of them, it's just the same. We try to streamline it, it's the same amount. So it's just how much comes out to pay off the loan on a daily basis.
Okay. Well, that is an option that's it's good for shop owners. If you got a good volume going through there, you need cash to renovate, cash to expand in a quick hurry. I think that's a great option to look into and everything. Now, Jesse, if our clients, our viewers are listening, how do they get, I know Carolyn's posted your links to your website and everything into the chats here, but how else would they know how do they get a hold of you at 360 Payments?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of us is through that link. So if you just go to 360payments.com/drive, that pops up a little landing page where they can put in their information. That goes right into our sales team and our CRM system, and one of our team will reach out and can answer any questions they have. They can review the current processing situation for you and see, how we can help you and what services we can provide for you guys.
Okay.
That's great.
And if a shop goes to sign up with you for credit card processing or the consumer financing or anything, I want to kind of walk through it. How easy is it for a shop to switch when they make that decision? Because I know that always comes up in their mind.
It can be
I
painful.
gotta go talk to my bank. I gotta go do this. I gotta return this terminal to somebody else, and they're gonna charge me if I return it. There's all these kind of questions I know that come up on that all the time.
For sure. Yeah. And again, we try to make it as easy as possible. So we don't have any contracts. And so they're not locked in for any time frame. So we always say, get set up with us, get signed up, get installed, get everything integrated to your shop management system, and run with us for a week or two. Make sure everything works correctly. Make sure the text to pay is going good, all that stuff, and then cancel with your old processor once we're already set up and running. You never want to sign up with us and cancel with your old processor before we're installed, because some processors will just shut you off, and then you have that.
Then you're SOL, right?
Right, exactly.
And
so, but yeah, I think that's the easiest process. Again, we will, once from the time you sign up with us, from the time to the time you can be up and running, we usually say give us about a week and a half. But it really just depends on what services they're adding and things like that. So our sales team is really good, though. They'll work with you through the whole process and answer any questions that you need.
okay. And I do have another question when it comes to credit card processing. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, at least I hope I'm not. But I've heard, of credit card processing. Oh, we're going to give you the best interest rates out there, the best card processing fees and everything else. And shop owners all excited, get signed up, and then finds out that they run a batch on Monday afternoon. And now it's 2 weeks before it hits their bank account.
Oh, the funding times. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. A lot of times like Square and these processors that make it super easy to sign up, you send them an email and all of a sudden you're signed up and you can take credit cards. The underwriting process they have is basically nothing. You send an email and you're signed up. But what they do to cover their liability on the back end is they set very low high tickets. So if you process more than like $1,000 in a day, they'll hold those funds for, it can be up to 30 days, I've seen. So what we do is we do so much in automotive that anything under a $15,000 transaction gets automatically approved with us. If it's an automotive shop in our kind of wheelhouse. So we've tried to make it very, very simple. We also have next day funding. So like you said, there's batch times. Worst case is 48-hour funding if you're past the batch time or you batch out late at night. But most of our shops are on next day funding. So anything they batch out will be in their bank account the next day. And then the reporting side, we try to make as simple as possible as well. Because we're integrated to all the shop management systems, they don't need that double check at the end of the day where they have to print out a batch report out of their terminal and then print out their end of day report and then try to match those. Everything's running through your shop management system. So your end of day report is your batch report because that's the only way to run it is through that software. So it kind of streamlines the end of day process for a lot of the shops as well. And then, the fees too is another thing that shop owners always want to talk about because, fees do change. In April of this year, Visa, MasterCard increased their rates. The wholesale rates for every single processing company out there is controlled by the card brands. And every April and October, they renegotiate them. Because of COVID and things over the last couple of years, they didn't really change much. But this April or last April, they did the largest increase I've seen in 10 years. So a lot of the card not present stuff or any downgrades went up a lot. And unfortunately, as a processor, this is our cost that goes back to Visa MasterCard. So there's nothing that we can do about that or any other processor can do about it. So fees did go up. So we tried to explain this as much as possible to our customers, but no one likes to pay more. So those types of things do happen. We try to be as full disclosure as possible. We try to price a lot of our customers on what we call interchange plus or cost plus pricing, so they can see what goes back to Visa MasterCard and see what comes to us as the processor. And this is what our sales team does all the time. So when you reach out to our team, they'll look at your current statement, show you what we would have charged for that same volume, see, if it makes sense and if we can help reduce some of the costs, but at the least point, streamline the whole, checkout process for you and make it easier for you to run your shop.
Okay.
Great.
So just a quick recap for all our viewers, 360 Payments. They have three major verticals that they can help your business with. One is in credit card processing. The second one is in consumer financing, so that it's a trickle down. You fill out one application and it gets approved or denied by one of the financing companies. It goes down to the next one in line until they find one that'll approve it. So that helps get your average ticket up and get more repairs to your shop while you have the car there in your shop. And the third thing is they have shop financing. And from what I understand, just make sure I say this correct, Jesse, but you can get up to the amount that you process in monthly credit card fees in a 24 to 48 hour period. You can have that in your bank account and you pay it back at 15% of your daily transactions.
Correct. Not 15% interest, but just through the
Yes.
amount matched. Yes, exactly.
Yes. So
Great.
So a lot of good programs there. Any shop owner that's looking at any of those areas that you think you need help in your business, their payment system automatically interfaces with a lot of shop management systems. So it eliminates paperwork and everything. So what I highly recommend look up 360 Payments, give them, reach out to them, do a analysis with them, let them see what they can do to help you. And as far as our show today, Jesse, thank you so much for coming on our show today, letting everybody know what you guys have to offer. We look forward to seeing you in upcoming events and seeing you in next September in Vegas at our next expo.
Absolutely, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me. It's great chatting with you.
Okay, well, thank you. And for all of our viewers here, we want to wish everybody a wonderful weekend, a happy Halloween. And then next Friday, we'll be back with a special show all related to the tow industry. We have John Browski. He's a specialist in tow industry programs for auto return. And we have Deanne Ortiz of American Towman Media going to be on our show next week. So if you want to learn more about towing or how to expand your business, this is one of the fields that you can go into. And we're going to have some industry experts on our show next week for that. So everybody have a great weekend.